Behind the picture symbolizes the meaningless brutality of the U.S. war in Vietnam. A doctor saved the life of a U.S. Marine in Vietnam. The photo that symbolized the senselessness and cruelty of the American war in Vietnam brought them together again after more than half a century. In 2018, Meyer Katz read Mark Bowden's book, Hugh 1968, A Turning Point of the American War in Vietnam. It was the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Tet Offensive, the all-out attack of the Vietnamese army and people in the South, and the fierce battle of the U.S. Marines to retake the historic city. The bloodiest battle. At the end of the book, Katz, who served as a U.S. Army surgeon at a mobile Army surgical hospital unit near Hue, comes across an iconic photograph of meaninglessness and cruelty of the war. The photo shows bleeding wounded Marines lying on top of a tank that acted as a makeshift ambulance during the fighting in Hue. The photo caused many Americans to question the wisdom of continuing the war. In the foreground of the photo is the body of a young private lying prostrate with a soldier tending to a chest wound. According to the photo caption, the Marine is A.B. Grantham. The name Grantham sparked the memory of Katz, now 85 years old. The retired doctor now lives in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He rummaged through old files and found diaries of surgeries at 22nd Surgical Hospital in Phu Bai, an air base near Hue. There, February 17, 1968, the same date shown in the photo caption, were the medical details of Grantham's operation. That discovery eventually led the two men to an unlikely reunion in September 2022 and a new friendship. "I had to see him after surgery 54 years ago," said Grantham, 72, from Alabama. Their first meeting, in 1968, was less coincidental. It was fueled by the Tet Offensive and uprising, which began on January 30, 1968, when tens of thousands of regulars and guerrillas attacked American Saigon forces in South Vietnam. Fierce fighting broke out as the U.S. Army and Marines tried to repel the attack. One of the fiercest battles occurred in Hue, where for nearly a month, the U.S. 1st Marine Division fought bloody house-to-house fighting. It will take 24 days of gruesome fighting to retake the city. The Battle of Hue will be the bloodiest battle of the Vietnam War, and a turning point not only in that conflict but in American history, Bowden writes in his book. On February 17, 1968, 18-year-old Marine Grantham served in a machine gun team. Of the 5 men in Grantham's unit, the munitionsman was the only soldier still standing after shrapnel from a grenade launcher wounded the remaining 4. Grantham took the position of gunner and supported another squad of Marines under attack. Seeing the enemy scatter bullets around him, he ran into a building and put the M60 machine gun in the window to return fire. Vietnamese troops quickly attacked Grantham. The U.S. Marines dodged several bullets before an AK-47 bullet pierced the chest, close to the heart, pierced the lung, and pierced the right shoulder. Grantham recalls, "It felt like someone had taken a red-hot poker out of the furnace and poked it through my chest. The wound made it hard for me to breathe. I don't think I'll make it." Nearby Marines responded quickly. They covered Grantham's wound with cellophane from a cigarette pack and wrapped him in bandages. Another Marine kicked the door shut, taking it as a stretcher. Grantham was towed to safety and placed on top of an M48 tank, according to Bowden. Grantham and John Olson, a photographer for the military newspaper Stars and Stripes. Grantham and the injured were loaded into makeshift ambulances. Shocking photo. That's when Olson took one of the most shocking photographs of the Vietnam War. Olson was also a writer for Life, the magazine that published the photo on 2 pages in its March 6, 1968 issue. "I miss the tank, I remember the lens I took it with, but I don't remember which picture I took," Olson said. "I have very little memory of that moment. It's all just a blur." On the tank ride to an aid station, every bump on the road made Grantham's body ache. Eventually, he made it to number 22 Surgical Hospital in Fubai, where Captain Katz, then 30 years old, came to work with him. Grantham said, "I remember him cutting my chest. The nurse gave me an injection, but Dr. Katz didn't wait for it to work. Terrible pain." Grantham was in surgery for hours. He received 10 units of blood while Dr. Katz removed the top part of his right lung, as well as removing bone fragments and 2 broken ribs from shrapnel. The next day, Grantham was evacuated to a hospital ship, then to Japan, before heading to a hospital in Pensacola, Florida. During his recovery, Grantham's weight plummeted from 75 kilograms to 53 kilograms. "As Marines, we are in top physical condition," he said. "Dr. Katz said it was very difficult for us to be killed." Grantham didn't know about the photo until his brother-in-law discovered it in Life magazine and showed it to him while he was recovering. After that, Grantham went to college, got married, had kids, divorced, remarried, and had a successful business career, all while dealing with the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. Unexpected reunion. Grantham attended reunions with fellow Marines. During one of his gatherings, he ran into Olson, who was displaying his battle photographs, including a tank with wounded Marines lying on it. "That's me," Grantham told the photographer, who didn't believe him at first. "Over the years, I have heard hundreds of people claiming to be Marines on tanks," Olson said. "After checking, none of them were right, so I lost my patience with A.B. Grantham as I did with all the others. But when he told me his story, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up." After examining the files and documents, Olson was convinced that Grantham was the person. Bowden spoke with Grantham about his book and, based on Olson's research, identified the wounded Marine as Grantham. A 2019 New York Times investigation used previously unpublished photographs and other information to convincingly argue that Marines lying on their stomachs on tanks were not Grantham, but wounded soldier James Blaine, who died later that day. However, Olson, who through his research identified and interviewed 10 of the 11 soldiers on the tank, remains certain that it was Grantham. Grantham himself, too. Even if the information Bowden wrote in the book is incorrect, it is also the cause of the unexpected reunion between Katz and Grantham. Photo captions in Bowden's book led Katz's daughter to contact the author, who put Katz in contact with Grantham. They had planned to meet, although the COVID-19 pandemic and the death of his wife Katz delayed their meeting. In September 2022, Grantham and his wife finally boarded a plane to spend a few days at Katz's home in Delaware. "When I saw A.B. Grantham, I ran over and hugged him. We couldn't stop talking," Katz said. "I thanked him many, many times," Grantham recalls. Since then, Grantham has called Katz at least once a week. "Dr. Katz is an avid football fan, so we talk about football a lot," Grantham said.